Hi, welcome to the new CUTV film review show with me, Sam Hobson, and this is Jack Allum-Gruselle. For this week we're going to be looking at two very similar films. We're looking at The Revenant and The Hateful Eight. We'll start with The Revenant. Jack, what did you think?
We'll start with the things that I liked. I mean, obviously the camera work is amazing, and like immediately from the first shot, you know, the precision of the camera movements is so wonderful, and you know, the whole film is incredibly beautiful. I loved all the sort of the upward looking shots of like the trees and sort of the expansive shots of these like incredible sort of climates.
It's very him. It's very his kind of thing. I mean, look, these great beautiful landscapes, this clever camera work.
Right, yeah. And I think my problem with it was that I felt like it was so sort of constant, and so the precision of it was so brilliant that I kind of became a bit sort of desensitized. Other good things, Tom Hardy I thought was amazing as the villain.
Yeah, really good.
Really enjoyed his performance, and I think I'm kind of tempted to say I was more engaged, and sort of I found his performance more enjoyable than DiCaprio.
Tom Hardy spoke more. I mean, when you did see him, he was involved and you could see more of his character, I think. Whereas a lot of the Leonardo DiCaprio stuff was just him surviving. So was he quite as consistent as a character? I'm not sure he was.
A lot was made of sort of, you know, the physical challenges that he put himself, the person, through to achieve this role. And I think that gives you a bit of a problem, especially in terms of Oscars, because this film is coming out, you know, it's in time for the Oscars, in time to win Best Film, in time to win Best Director, in time to win Best Actor. And I think specifically with DiCaprio's performance, people are already assuming that it's just so brutal and grueling for the man himself, that the performance is sort of elevated to another level. Whereas in reality, I think if you watch the performance, I found it a bit one note. And this comes back to what I really want to say is, or one of the reviews I saw said that often endurance tests for characters become endurance tests for the audience, and that's basically exactly how I felt. I thought it was a bit of a slog to get through, to be honest.
What I'd really like to talk about now is The Hateful Eight, which is the other snowy western that has come out in the last couple of months. I'm a huge Tarantino fan, and for me, I just really loved it. I really loved what they did with the dialogue and the atmosphere, and the actors were all stunningly good. I'm very biased. I think this film was perhaps Tarantino's best film.
That hurts, man. That hurts. I was not particularly impressed with The Hateful Eight. I feel like I'm falling out of love with Tarantino a little bit. I think the dialogue in his film, the dialogue is often it's often, everyone says he's the best writer of dialogue, and he's very sharp. There are lots of you know, puns and sort of quick responses in The Hateful Eight, which, you know, it's a credit to Tarantino. He's very good at that. But my problem with Tarantino, I think, is that the dialogue for me is becoming very samey. Everyone, I mean, Mark Cohen says this, so I'm kind of ripping him off a bit, but everyone in Tarantino's films speaks like Quentin Tarantino, which kind of, you know, I'm finding it a bit grating now, I think. I think my problems with this film specifically, people have talked about it, but the length is very overindulgent, in my opinion. I know that you think that you know, the length works because, you know, you've got the sort of the building of suspense. I didn't feel a lot of suspense. I don't really care about any of the characters, and when the bloodshed comes, which it does, it's predictable. You know, the violence, lots of people have complained previously about how sort of you know, his use of ultra violence. But I mean, the point isn't really that. It's that it's so over the top. It's so you know, predictable that it's kind of effectless. I found it.
Certainly, especially Tarantino has come under a lot of criticism, not just for this film, but just generally throughout his career, for how he deals with race and gender. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? I
think with gender, I think, you know, a lot of the violence is directed towards Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, which is quite shocking. But in terms of the plot, in terms of who she is as a character, she kind of gives back as much as she gets. Like which, and I think she's the best thing about the film. Definitely the best actor, I think, in the film. So I didn't have too much of a problem with that. I thought that was quite interesting.
She has a lot going for her. So I suppose, yeah, she's not just the object to rescue, but then in some ways she's the object in which all of the other characters move around. It's whether I think you feel she has enough characterization and drive of her own to justify her being the object that is being passed around.
But she's not a sexual object. It's very different, I think. It's not. I find it really difficult to talk about stuff like this because I feel like you're right. She is a woman that all of the other guys want, which in itself is kind of, feels kind of almost objectifying, and yet she's the head of this gang, if I can give away a spoiler, and she is the real powerhouse. But then you've got the final scene, which is so gruesomely indulgent that I don't really know what to think about it.
The racial thing is very difficult because it's so core to Tarantino's work, and also rears itself in The Revenant in terms of the Native Americans in the part of it. And in some ways, we are two weedy white guys talking about this, and whether we're qualified to discuss it is an interesting question.
Weedy.
But I think I'm not sure either quite gets it right. Although Samuel Jackson, I think, is one of his best performances. Okay, well, this is the big question. Hateful Eight or The Revenant? Which would you recommend to go and see?
I recommend to go and see The Revenant.
Really?
Definitely.
That's interesting.
Unless you've never seen a Tarantino film, in which case watch Pulp Fiction. But yeah, I'd probably recommend The Revenant.
Okay, yeah. I think I'll actually agree with you, because I think you're right. Yeah, I love The Hateful Eight. Again, if you've never seen a Tarantino film, I wouldn't start with it. I mean, it will break you. But The Revenant is actually very impressive as a piece of film, and there aren't many things that are as ambitious as that, and it's definitely worth going to see. Thank you for watching. Next week we'll be looking at the film The Room. We'll be there at the Cambridge Picture House, and we hope to see you all next week. Thank you, and goodbye.